Almost did. Let me move on. Abram was a peacemaker because he lived by faith. Lot, on the other hand, was a troublemaker because he lived by sight. So you can be a peacemaker or you can be a troublemaker. Depending on what you live by. If you live by faith, you can be a peacemaker. If you live by sight, you'll be a troublemaker. And that was Lot's problem. Abram chose a heavenly city. Go to Hebrews chapter 11 right quick. Verse 13. Now, chapter 11 is called the faith chapter, or the Hall of Faith. Hall of Fame for faith heroes. There's a lot of ways people describe it. Abram and many others are mentioned in this chapter. And it says in verse 13, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. These all died. When it says they died in their faith, that means these all died controlled and sustained by their faith. Controlled by and sustained by their faith. For they that say, verse 14, such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. These people, he says, who taught as they did, who taught faith, who lived faith, who breathed faith. These people who taught as they did, they show plainly, it says that they are in search of a new country, a fatherland. They're in search of their own home country. Listen, how many of you know that you are not designed to stay here? You are designed for eternity. This earth is not your home, like the old songwriter said, I'm just passing through. This world is not our home. We're not going to camp out. Listen, one thing that has become very, very poignant to me this past week are the deaths of friends who were close to my age, who are in the same age bracket that I'm in, over the last year, over the last several weeks, and some even younger. It makes me more acutely aware of my own mortality. I'm not indestructible. You're not indestructible. When I was a kid, I thought I was. The neighborhood I grew up in, it's a wonder half of us weren't dead before we ever reached the age of 20. I'm telling you, I kid you not. It was only God. It was only His grace that most of all of us survived to adulthood. We did some crazy things. I mean, things that something mom and dad probably still never knew about. But I mean, just crazy things. Because as a kid, you don't see danger. As a kid, you think you're indestructible. It's not going to happen to you. But the older I get, the more I realize and understand my own immortality, my own mortality, my own mortality, my own frailness in this life. Yeah, I take vitamins. I try to stay active. I need to get back to a regular exercise regimen, what I need to get back to, and all these things that are good for you. I need to do all that. But regardless of all these things, you can exercise and you can eat right, and you can do all these things. But I'm here to tell you, you are not going to live forever in this body. This world is not our home. We're just passing through. We're not going to stay here as a permanent residence here. 100 years from now, if the world lasts that long, the Lord tarries, 100 years from now, a lot of people will never even know you and I lived. Won't even never know we ever existed. Now, hopefully we may leave some kind of legacy where they'll remember something about us, but we're not going to be here forever. We're not going to live here forever. And it says here that these died in their faith, controlled, sustained by their faith. Why? Because they were looking for a country. And it says, if they had been thinking with, let me give you what the Amplified says. Verse 15, if they had been thinking with homesick remembrance of that country from which they were immigrants, they would have found constant opportunity to return to it. In other words, if they had been mindful of that country that they came out of, if Israel had been mindful, and a lot of the time that was a lot of their downfall, because they did want to go back a lot of times to Egypt. But he says, these who walk by faith, these who saw things differently, these who taught faith, these who lived faith. He says, if they had been mindful of that country that they had come out of, they had plenty of opportunity to go back. They had plenty of opportunity to return. But they knew better. They knew there was something better awaiting for them. He goes on to say, but the truth is, they were yearning for and aspiring to a better and more desirable country. That is, a heavenly one. For that reason, God is not ashamed to be called their God, even to be surnamed their God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for he has prepared a city for them. Aren't you glad that God's prepared a city where there won't be any more cold? There won't be any more unbearably hot weather. I saw a sign the other day somebody said, the next person I hear this summer say it's so hot. This cold weather makes you appreciate the heat one. But thank God there's a city that God has prepared for us as his people, where there'll be no more coughing, be no more cold, be no more flu, be no more any sickness of any kind, be no more death, thank God. There's a city